about the God and Mammon opposer element. Okay, so Satan means the opposer. Satan means what what is the opposition, and what are the two things that oppose each other? Okay, so there's dark and light. Okay, there's good and bad. There's evil and righteousness. Okay, and there's body and spirit. There's the physical world and the spiritual world. Okay, which is really what we're going to address today. Good morning. Good morning, Jay. Jay, you made it. Okay. Hi, Sarah. Good morning. So, what are we really talking about? We're talking about the physical world and the spiritual world. Okay, because the yin and the yang oppose each other, the opposing energies. Okay, dark versus light, good versus bad, all of that stuff. Okay, but very rarely do people consider the physical world and the spiritual world, because this is physical. This in here, okay, your spirit, it's spiritual. Whatever you call this, you can call this energy, you can call this a spirit, you can call it soul. Okay, and then there are the people that get real technical. They say, well, the soul is above you, and yada yada. Okay, so but I'm here to tell you that when you rely on this in here instead of the material world, physical world, things change. Things change dramatically. Why? Well, because you become the observer. The goal is to become the observer. Why is that? Well, because when you can observe things, okay, you're not subjected to it, you're just observing, okay? So, is the body itself the opposition to spirit? No, not exactly. Okay, so the body is not the enemy. That's not what we're saying. Okay, the issue is identification with the body, or with the material, or with the physical. Okay, as opposed to the spiritual. Okay, so the body is a vessel, it's an instrument, it's a vehicle. The spirit is awareness, consciousness, divine connection. Okay, so that's how we look at the spiritual. So this is not a religious live. This is not a religious broadcast. Okay, so we're not here. I make religious references because that's what I'm familiar with. But these references are good for everyone if you put it in the proper context. And most people learn these things with Sunday school knowledge. Okay, so this is like basic exoteric knowledge. Okay, I studied esoteric knowledge since I was 13, and I can tell you that those two things are very, very different. And most people, the masses, do not understand what they're reading, okay, the story that they're reading, because the story goes a lot deeper. Okay, so with the body and the spirit, the opposer of the spirit is the Hasatan, Satan, okay, the opposer. And the reason why, whether you call it Satan, Saturn, Kronos, okay, so this, and they're just a little bit different because they cross cultures. Okay, but what it is time. Okay, time is one of the elements. So Kronos governs time, Saturn governs time. Satan is opposed to the spirit. Why? Because it's part of the body. The body deteriorates. All the things in the physical world deteriorate. Everything, buildings deteriorate over time. Everything deteriorates over time. The key word is time. So, are you putting your trust in time, or are you putting trust in your eternal self? Okay? Because people get so distracted into the physical world. That's why this happens. So you begin to think, you begin to identify with the physical and ignore the spiritual. How is that possible? Well, because you forget about it. Because you think what's out here is real, out here in the physical world. Gautama Buddha said the man or woman, okay, it doesn't matter, but he said the man who sees life as an illusion escapes suffering. What was he talking about? He was talking about mental suffering, emotional suffering. Why? Because everything out here was created from someone else's in here. Everything. Except nature. God created that. Okay? So when it boils down to God made, man made, which one are you going to choose? Well, we get distracted into the man made. Wow, that's a nice car. Whoa, that's a nice house. Whoa, that's a nice dress. Whoa, that's a nice suit. Whatever. Shoes, whatever. Doesn't matter. Okay? And then you become attached to inanimate objects. Then you start forgetting who you really are. And you start believing that you're only the body. You start believing in ego, status, survival. Okay, these are all left brain components, left brain thoughts, left brain actions. Yesterday we were talking left brain versus right brain. Okay, so why is it that Satan rules the world? Why, so Christians say that. Okay, if you're not a Christian, it's okay. I'm not here pushing Christianity. But Satan just means the opposer. Okay, it's the yin and yang. Okay, it's the yang. So why does it say that? Well, it says that because the system of values based upon fear, power, greed, separation, competition, and ego from the left side of the brain is the opposer to the right side of the brain. What's the right side? Creativity, inspiration, imagination, intuition, and bonding, togetherness. The opposition is separation. It's all the opposite, everything. They're both opposites. So why is it so important? Why all this fear? Well, because if something can fear you, it can control you. If it can keep you in fear, it will control you. Doubt, fear, guilt, shame. All of these things are rooted in fear. If someone can keep you in any of these states, they can control you. Why? Because it takes you off of your life path. So your life path goes like this, okay? It unfolds from within. When someone pushes you off of your life path, all they do is move you a little bit like this. Now you're going over here instead of here. You're going here and you're going a little slower. Why? Because it made you fearful. Now you're hesitating. Hesitation is rooted in fear. Procrastination is rooted in fear. If people or entities, let's say entities, these are the systems of things that Jesus Christ talked about when he said, I will be with you until the end of the world. The world is not ending. I have news for you. Systems change. We're in the middle of huge change. But when you translate it out into the original text, it says, I will be with you until the end of these systems of things. What does that mean? That means Jesus will be with you forever. There is no end to these systems of things. The systems change. When do they change? They change with each astrological age. I know. In Sunday school, they teach you astrology is evil. Well, in Matthew, the man with the water pitcher, when Jesus says, follow the man with the water pitcher into the house, the astrological house, I will meet you upstairs in the temple. The man with the water pitcher is the symbol for Aquarius. Okay, whenever there's a new age, there's upheaval, global upheaval, which is what we're in the middle of right now. There's nothing to be upset about if, right? If you understand the separation between the body and the spirit. What you see out here is an illusion. Why is it an illusion? It's created by other people. But in the age of Aquarius, truth comes. In the age of Aquarius, people are set free. This is what you're seeing on a global scale. People are being set free. Because systems are changing. And systems will change. And people will be free of kind of, sort of, okay, from one system to the other. Hopefully the new system is a little better. Some people are pessimistic about it. Some people are optimistic about it. But what really matters is the way you see it. Do you see the glass half full, or do you see the glass half empty? So the opposition to spirit is body. But it only becomes mammon when you put trust in it. So anything physical can become mammon. It's not just money. It's been presented to the Sunday schoolers like, okay, money versus God. It's not money versus God. It's trust versus God. Trust in material, trust in physical. That can be entities, it can be business, it can be careers, it can be a degree, it can be anything you put your trust in. And the reason why Jesus said it's easier for a man to, right, for a camel to fit through the eye of a needle than a rich man to go to heaven is because of this. Is because mammon happens. And they start to trust in the money. They start to trust in the bank. They start to trust in the industry. They start to trust in the physical and away from the spiritual. Manifestation happens in the spiritual. Jesus said the kingdom is within. He's not the only one. Gautama Buddha said it. Krishna said it. Zoroaster said it. A lot of people said this. Okay, he was the last one to say it. So why is this so important? It's important because when you realize this, you realize the power you have. You realize the power that you have to draw things to you because like attracts like. Like energy attracts like energy. Like-mindedness attracts like-mindedness. So the ruler of this world has to rule over the physical because it's a physical world. Okay? So it's important to look at consumerism, power systems, fear politics, okay, manipulation, material obsession. People that are obsessed with video games. Oh, this is my latest obsession. People talk like that now, right? You see that. Oh, I'm obsessed with this now. I'm obsessed with that now. So it's almost a catchphrase. In fact, I think it is. This is my latest obsession. Obsessions were not normal, okay? This is a new thing, relatively new. But this is consumerism. Consumerism is mammon when you trust in it, when you believe in it. So in other words, to keep the balance, you have to keep things in perspective. Physical, spiritual. God-made, man-made. If it's man-made, don't put your trust in it. Manifestation is all subconscious. Okay? It's in your subconscious. So if your subconscious is physical, or let's say rooted in the physical world, or let's say trusting in the physical. Like, okay, I trust in the stock market, I trust in the financial market, I trust in the job, in the career. Okay, those things can disappear like that. In 2008, the stock market was going like this. I was in my office, and in our office building, it was a pretty good sized building. It was like a medium sized building in a rural area in Hawaii. And we were watching people move out of the building every week. They were leaving. And we were like, oh man, okay. It was spooky watching everybody. It was like an exodus. Everybody left. Everybody was leaving. There were only like 4 of us left in the building. There was a government building, a government agency from Samoa, American Samoan government. There was us. There was a travel agency and an income tax preparer. That were the only ones left. Oh, there was a beauty salon too, a beauty salon guy. We were the only ones left. Everyone was moving out. Every week it was a new business, just going under, just moving out. But we believed, you know. So you might say, well, you just believed and everything was okay. No, everything wasn't okay. We were behind. We got behind. But we did what business people do. We negotiated. We contacted the landlord. We sat down with them. We made a plan. Maybe the other people didn't make a plan. I don't know. But they all left. And we made a plan. And the landlords agreed to our plan. We had it. We reached an agreement. And it took about 6 months to recover. And we recovered. But this is business. This is what happens in business. Now, if we belong to the physical, right? Oh no, the stock market's collapsing. Oh, right? Okay. And get distracted into that. It was very difficult. It was difficult to pull the mindset back to the spiritual. Because your eyes look away from the kingdom. Your eyes look away from the source. Your eyes look away from where God lives. God is in here. Okay, God is in you. It doesn't matter how you believe. You're a human being. Whether you believe in God or source or universe or Allah or Jesus Christ or Yahweh, whatever you believe, I'm not here to tell you what to believe. You believe as you believe. But when your eyes see a certain physical reality and pulls you into that reality, and that's where your belief is, and that's where your faith lives, and that's where your trust is, you have a problem. And it's very difficult to pull yourself back because you have to say, no, this is not what I'm going to be attached to. I'm going to come back over here, into the spiritual, in here, where God lives. So if your subconscious is on what's happening in the physical world and you're praying for a miracle, good luck. Because your subconscious at the end of the day will win the war. So you can pray and take 2 steps forward and your subconscious goes, nope, come back. And it moves you back. And you go, no, but I'm going to pray for it. So you go, like this, subconscious pulls you back. So how do you fix this? Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, and visualization. Because your subconscious is your hard drive. Your subconscious is the program that keeps repeating the program that you've installed. Thoughts become things. A belief is a thought you keep thinking. As you keep thinking the same thought over and over, As you keep speaking the same thing over and over, as you keep fearing the same thing over and over, guess what? It just gets more ingrained in your subconscious. And then it begins to repeat on its own. Then what happens? Well, then it solidifies whatever it is that you're thinking. Whatever it is. Is marriage a contract or covenant? It depends on what you believe, and it depends where you get married and what your belief system is, William. So your subconscious pulls you back into previous programs if your new program isn't developed strong enough, and you have to practice. So 66 days is the minimum. It's a contract in government. It's a covenant in religion, but it depends on the way they believe. Thank you, Jay. So where does the body fit into this body spirit thing? The body has instincts: hunger, sex drive, okay, self-protection, pleasure seeking, avoiding pain, okay, and resisting. The avoiding pain thing is the resisting. You want to avoid this because why? Well, because that may take too much work. That may hurt a little bit. That may produce a little suffering. That may, right? So these things only become the truth when you start putting your faith in it. Otherwise, it's like an opinion. It can change. But when you get too grounded into the physical, you begin to think that's all there is. I'm just a body. I'm just a meat suit walking around on the planet. I'm just here. I'm subject to all of this back and forth, up and down, back and forth, up and down. But the three states of awareness, conscious, subconscious, and superconscious, are important because they're all in here. They're all in you. The conscious mind thinks 5% of your life. It makes 5% of the decisions. "95% of your life is subconscious, it's automatic." This is good news. This is good news. Why? Because you can establish new habits. You can establish new patterns. You can establish new things. So the definition of insanity, right? Repeating the same thing over and over and over, expecting something better. Let's say this another way. If you don't work on your subconscious, but let's say you pray. You pray. Let's say you make a plan, okay? But you don't put anything new in your subconscious. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But you lapse into the same thing over and over again. The definition of insanity is doing this and expecting something better. It can't happen. I had to go through a drastic change to start accomplishing things because it wasn't working. And I was hitting my head against the wall all the time. You know, you go so far, boom, hit the wall. Go so far, hit the wall. Go so far, hit the wall. And pretty soon you believe in the wall. Pretty soon you say, okay, well, you know, I can only get so far, and this is just me. And then you resign yourself to that thinking. A belief is a thought you keep thinking. Now you believe that thought after a while. And it goes into your subconscious. I just said that. Thank you, Gabriel. I blame Gabriel is your name. Ooh, that's kind of negative. That's a kind of, yeah. I don't know about that name, but that's what I just said. Yeah. Okay. So when you look at what it really means, the the body versus spirit, okay? Flesh equals the body. Flesh equals ego. These are all left brain components. Okay, God lives in the right hemisphere of your brain. There's evidence all over. Okay, Michelangelo in his Sistine Chapel painting of God. God is in the brain. God is in the right hemisphere. Intuition, imagination, creativity, bonding. Okay, humans are social creatures. So it's about surrendering the left and migrating to the right. That's the journey of Moses. That's what the journey is all about, esoterically. If you read the story, it's a story. People go, no, no, that's not what it means. I think, so I said, well, Jesus said, cast your net to the right. How about that one? Oh, no, but he was talking about fishing. Okay. He was talking about abundance because abundance is in the right hemisphere of your brain. Competition is in the left. Creativity is in the right. It's the difference between a competitive mindset, which incurs heavy losses and heavy gains. Okay, if you want to live like that. Okay, and creativity, the right hemisphere. Why is that more important? Because the creative side will give you intuition. The creative side takes a little imagination. When you take baby steps and focus on intuition or that feeling you get, it's the same feeling you get when you drive down the road. You get that feeling to turn right, you dismiss it because the ego thinks it knows better. And then you drive down a little bit farther, you get stuck in a traffic jam, and then what? You say, I knew I should have turned back there. Because you did know. You actually did know. How many decisions like that have you just discarded, dismissed? Probably a lot. I'm here to tell you that when you focus on that voice, that feeling, it's in your voice, but that feeling. And part of the reason why you don't trust that feeling is because it's in your voice and you think it's you. And you think, because you don't believe in you. Okay? So believe more in yourself. God first, then you. Okay? Higher self first, then you. Infinite intelligence first, then you. Source, then you. Jesus Christ, then you. Allah, then you. Whatever you believe, I'm not here to tell you how to believe. But the same teaching is everywhere. Okay? Flesh equals ego. The body, the physical. Okay? In Hinduism, Maya equals the illusion of separateness. Okay? Versus ego, it's the same. It's the same thing. Buddhism, suffering equals attachment and identification. It's the same thing. When you identify with something in the physical, you start moving away from the spiritual. You're not your body, you're not your name, you're that energy that lives in here. Somebody yesterday made a comment on my Facebook. They said, well, you're the Deepak Chopra guy, and then you're making comments on political things. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a human being. Okay, don't get this twisted. You can use this for anything. I'm telling you how this works. How you use it is up to you. You can be a really good person or you can be a really bad person. Okay? It doesn't matter how you think, it doesn't matter what you think, but what you think will become what you are. The point is, if you let the world or the physical world dictate to you who you are, then you have a problem. Because now it's in your subconscious, and that false program is going in your subconscious, and you're getting results that are other than who you are, because your life path unfolds from within. Everyone has their own gifts, everyone has their own blessings. But if you're not getting what's yours, or let's say positive results, or let's say a good life, let's say you get a lot of drama, let's say bad things are happening over and over and over and over in your life, that's a clue. You need to fix it. But you need to fix it in here, because everything out here reacts to everything in here. This is how the human being works. This is not religion. Although it is in religion, because religion has truth in it. But they tell it to you in a story. So esoterically, or, on the inside, the true meanings of it need to be learned. Exoterically, it's a story. It's the greatest story ever told. Exoterically, Sunday school level, Sunday school knowledge. It's just a wonderful story with good morals and good values. Esoterically, it's metaphoric. Esoterically, you need to understand the principles. So the world system, systems, all the industrial systems, the medical industrial complex, the media industrial complex, everything rooted in consumerism, in commerce. The world is a bunch of corporations. Countries are corporations. They call themselves countries. They're corporations. These are businesses. You are a customer. When you start looking at the world in transactions, verbal transactions, energetic transactions, physical transactions, it's easier to understand. Follow the money. Look at the money aspect of it. Who has something to gain from this situation? Then it will be explaining itself. And you look at it, you go, oh, okay, I see it now. In Gnosticism, the world system traps awareness in illusion. Why? Because you start to believe the illusion rather than the awareness. Thank you, thank you. Hey, Rosanna, good morning, Rosanna. Thank you. Hello. Thank you so much. You start to believe the illusion. You start to believe in the illusion. There's always going to be the illusion. When you start to believe in the illusion and trust in the illusion, you take away your power from in here. Why? Because you don't acknowledge it anymore. You go, oh, it must be that. It must be the government. It must be the corporation. It must be the degree. It must be the college. It must be the everything that points away from the kingdom. The kingdom is within. Thoughts become things. When you think the right thoughts, the illusion disappears and you see the truth. And when you see the truth will set you free. And you cannot be free until you see the truth. And you cannot see the truth until you separate the two and understand that the kingdom is within. Because otherwise, you just see yourself as what you see in the mirror. Oh, and you see it every day. Right? Oh, that's who I am. That's who I am. Look a little deeper. Look in here. So your subconscious responds to visuals and audio. And of these two, your voice, your audio, okay, and your image, your visual, is number one with your subconscious. So it's important. It's important to stand in front of the mirror and acknowledge yourself in here. Speak kindly to yourself. Be happy with yourself. Acknowledge the blessing it is to be yourself. If you don't see this, you'll never wake up. People go their whole lives asleep, fast asleep. They think it's the degree they got in college because that got them the job. And then that job runs, I don't know, until they're in their 70s maybe. Then they retire, take a few cruises. Then they start coming down with ailments and then it's time to go. And they call that a life. But they go through this whole thing unaware. They go through this whole thing under hypnosis. The hypnosis of the physical world. The illusion is the illusion that you are only physical. The illusion is the physical minus the spiritual. And all these unexplained things, oh, they're just coincidences, right? Wrong. Conscious, subconscious, superconscious. The conscious mind thinks the thought that gives you the target. Okay, we're going to work on this. Now that you think about this, now that you write about this, now that you speak about this, now that you ponder this, now that you consider this, now that you focus on this, it becomes a belief in the subconscious. Now what? Well, in 2 weeks you feel the shift. In 66 days, it becomes a thing. After that, it begins to repeat slowly as you put it more and more and more in your subconscious. Then what happens? After it's a belief, it starts looking for confirmation. It starts providing the avenues. What does the superconscious do? The superconscious is God, higher self, infinite intelligence, Jesus Christ, your spiritual power, your life force. What does that do? Well, if you want to look at it like a computer, your conscious mind is your operating system, your processor. The subconscious is the hard drive where your programs are stored. The superconscious is the network that you're all plugged into. We're all plugged into it, okay? We're all plugged into it. And that's why as you take the steps, the doors begin to open. And then a way shall be made. And people go, oh, wow. You know, I wanted to work at XYZ company. And then one day I was at the gym. I've been thinking about this for about a week, and I was at the gym the other day, and I was talking to this guy, and guess what? He works at XYZ company, and I asked him, I said, you guys got openings? He goes, yeah, come down and apply. So I went and applied, and guess what? I have an interview next week. And in a few weeks, you're working at XYZ company. Coincidence? Some people think so. Some people that are focused on the physical and not the spiritual. If you believe in God, or let's say higher self, if you however you say that, but if you believe in this in here, doesn't matter what belief system, but if you believe in this versus the physical, then what? Then it has to be that. It can't be anything else, because you cannot have a random 50% here and a purposeful 50% here. That doesn't happen. Even a scientist will tell you that. But then science in itself is a religion. Now what? Well, if you really want to put this to work, if you really want to put this to good use, get a target. A target that you consciously think of. Put it into your subconscious. Your subconscious will start turning out that, whatever that is. I want that job. I want that car. I want that relationship. The only thing in a relationship sense that you don't have any control over is someone else's free will. If someone else is consenting, go ahead. Write about it. Think about it. Act on it. Then the superconscious begins to work as you take the steps. As you take the steps, the doors begin to open, the right people come into play, and you go, wow, what a coincidence. Or you go, yeah, God did that. Because God lives in me. The God in me began creating a way. And all I had to do is trust in it. It is God. You can call it I am. And this is why you write your affirmations. I am so happy and grateful now that I am. That's a double I am. Confident. Because confident is the absence of anxiety. It's the absence of grief. It's the absence of guilt. It's the absence of shame. It's the absence of everything tied into the physical world. Why are you shameful? Well, because something compared me to something in the physical world. Okay. Maybe another person? Okay. And that shamed you. Something made you feel guilty? Oh yeah, well, I didn't ace out my test. So yeah, I felt guilty because I didn't study as much. There you go. Comparison to what? Something in the physical world or someone in the physical world. It's impossible for the spirit to be in that condition. It's impossible. It's of the physical world. So all of these things, these complexes that you start getting, is from your involvement in the physical world. That Satan, or the opposer to spirit, is the king of, or the controller of, or the opposition to spirit that you put your trust in. When you become the observer, what happens? When you become the observer, you're just observing. Okay, well, that's not for me. I'll go over here. Oh, that's not for me. I'll go over here. But when you know these things, I worked in 2 very toxic work environments. Very, very toxic. And after my 4 hours that I worked there, right, I went back to my office. I had my own companies. I went back to my office, sat in my chair, put my chair back, and I had to close my eyes and meditate and shake it, literally shake it off. Shake it off. Okay? The conditioning. Okay? Because when you work for, let's say, a corporation, there are rules. When you work for an entity, let's say it that way, there are rules, there are guidelines, there are things that you can and cannot do. There are things that people will project onto you that are not true. If you're the observer, you can travel down that road and not be affected. You still have to detox because it is toxic. Anything negative is toxic to the human being. Why? Because you are born with God's energy in here. Nothing about that is toxic at all. At all. Yes. Wishing you happiness and peace as well. Yep. Mm-hmm. So, the toxicity of the physical world, of the real world, is a reality. You can either buy into that reality and join, okay? When you engage, you join. Whenever you engage, you join. People always join, they forget to disengage. How do you disengage? Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. The meditation is key because you need to be still in the presence of God. God lives in here. You need to be still. You don't need to chant. You don't need to do things you don't understand. You don't need to do any of that. But you need to be still. It takes a lot of training. Okay, you have to train yourself like a puppy. Okay, sit still, right? Sit still. Okay, I'm gonna sit still for 3 minutes. I'm not gonna move. I'm gonna set my phone timer on 3 minutes, and I'm gonna sit still until I hear the chimes, right? And you wanna move. You wanna get up and do something. Why? Because the physical world dictates that you're wasting time. You could be doing this. You could be catching up. You could be doing dishes. You could be, right? So you feel anxiety. You feel urged to get up and do something. So you break your meditation. So start with 2 minutes, then go to 4 minutes, then go to 5, then go to 8 minutes, then go to 10. Once you get to 10, you can do 10 every day. You just have to get used to it. That's all. It's a subconscious thing. The subconscious will repeat. It's going to take you about 2 weeks to get there. Because we live in a society that's so adrenaline driven, so dopamine driven, so instant gratification driven, these simple things like stopping, these simple things like pausing become a big deal. Why? Because you've been conditioned. You've been conditioned by this one. Okay, next, 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 next. And then when you sit down, your brain is still on next, 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 next. And you can't sit still. You can't relax. So you need to obtain the switch. Okay, how do you obtain the switch? 2 minutes first, 4 minutes, 6 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes. It's a process. Nobody gets there overnight. People give up because it doesn't happen. People give up because they fail. So failure is a part of success. If you cannot fail, you cannot succeed. I fail every week at something. Jay knows this. I fail every week. Every week. At different things. I have to be failing every week, or something's wrong. If you're succeeding every week with everything, something's wrong. Take a closer look. So your intuition is important. Don't ignore that feeling. Even though you hear it in your voice, you think it's you, and you ignore it because you think you make bad decisions, because you don't trust yourself. You don't trust your decisions. Then you stop trusting your intuition. You ignore it. You push it on the side. You go, "Oh, that's a crazy idea." I'm here to tell you to trust your crazy ideas. If I did not trust my crazy ideas, if I didn't learn to do that, nothing would happen in my life. Because everything I did was crazy. Everything. When I dropped out of college, okay, that was crazy. To me, that was crazy. And when I told my first mentor about it, who was my uncle, and I said, "Uncle, I dropped out of college today. I'm sorry." He said, "Oh, that's the best thing you ever did." And I was like, "What?" Like, I didn't get it. I didn't get it at the time. Later on, I got it. And today I work with executives. I coach executives, people that are in charge of a lot of other people. When I first talk to them about it, they don't get it. Then they see it. Then they go, ah, okay. Then they get it. Yeah. Thank you. Powerful message, especially now it's hard, so much resistance and obstacles. Yeah. So what I'm love the crazy ideas. Yeah. Yeah, they don't get. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. So the thing about that is there are better mechanisms now. There's better mousetraps out there. Okay, you're the mice. You're the mice. Back in the day, there were television, there were three networks. It wasn't like it is now. Now there's 300 television stations. I don't know, whatever you got. There's all of these options. You know, it kind of reminds me of my consulting company when we were doing a lot of marketing, and there was these water brands in the store. Three of them were owned by one company. And it's funny how many people, it was the same water in the bottles, different design, different brand, same water. And these customers would swear that this one was better than this other one that was the same water, same company, different brand. But that's how it works here, okay? It's your perception. But you need to get past your perception. You need to get into a new perception that fits where you want to go versus where you've been. If you focus on where you've been, you will continue to go there. But it's also important to understand where you've been in order to see where you're going to go, because that alone should be the driver. If you know where you've been, you go, okay, well, been there, done that, right? It's time for something new. Okay, set the next goal, conscious mind. Get it into your subconscious as a program. Start, wash, rinse, and repeat. Now you have something new, new results, new whatever it is. Okay, and one of my executives, she was a very high, uh, I want to say high ranking in this large corporation. And I told her, I had to tell her, look at your career, okay? Because you cannot see things in the moment because you're here, okay? So I told her, look at your awesome career, okay? Because if you cannot see where you've been, you don't know where you're going. And take this career and put it over here, because this is where you're going to go with your subconscious. Because she was programmed for success. And her career was just boom, 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 all the way up. And then she was at the top of the mountain. When I met her, she was at the top of the mountain. She was at the peak of her success. She's still there. She's at the peak. But she wanted to see what else is out there. The big question was, what about me? She was busy being the attorney. Everybody referred to her as the attorney. She was identifying as the attorney. Everybody identified her as the attorney. And the question was, what about me? What about this? What about who I am instead of what I do? And this is probably the biggest problem with professionals, because of identity. And this is what I'm trying to tell you about the ego, the illusion. Okay, the Hasatan, the Satan, the Saturn, the material, the physical. Because it's a thing. When you start identifying with something and go, oh, I am that. I am the attorney. I am the PhD. I am the doctor. I am the electrician. I am the plumber. I am the carpenter. Now you've chosen something that becomes Mammon. Why does it become Mammon? Because you start to trust in it. Why do you trust in it? Well, it makes you money. It brings you a living. What about God? What about in here? My mentor always used to tell me, what about God? I used to tell him, what about God? Right? Because I believed in God. It wasn't about anything else for me. And he would tell me, what about God? I'm like, what about God? And now I'm asking people, what about God in here? You seek in the kingdom. This is the kingdom. Close your distractors. Your distractors take you away from the kingdom. It makes you focus on the dress, the car, the house, the this, the that, the whatever. The degree, the job, the position. When the focus should be in here. Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization, because every change in here affects out here. The universal law of correspondence. People cannot hide. Whatever they're thinking in here shows up out here. So the people you see in Maseratis, in Ferraris, in whatever, Rolls Royces, that's what they're thinking in here. The people that show up in the beaters, that's what they're thinking in here. It's not wrong. Different people have different priorities. Some people want to live in a log cabin all the way up in the mountains alone. They don't want anybody to bother them. And to them, that's success. Everyone has a different idea of success. But if you're not achieving whatever it is you want, just know it's affirmations, meditation, vocalization, and visualization. And when you start to focus on God instead of Mammon or things that potentially become Mammon. Okay, in Sunday school, they teach it as money. It's not money. You know, when Jesus says, leave all your possessions and follow me, that's not what he's talking about. He's saying, leave this. Leave your attachment to this and follow me in here. Okay, seek first the kingdom, then everything will be added unto you. It's not wrong to have things. It's just wrong to worship them. In Sunday school, they teach it the other way. Why? So, well, you can give all your money to the church and then you're good, right? Wrong. Anyway, thank you, Jay. Jay is over here saying, yeah, we're playing a role, Manuel, but you have a role to play. It's called your life path. And everyone contributes. Everyone is important and everyone has a life path. So allow it to unfold. So I need to get to client Sarah. Sarah, we are on. So I shall see you guys tomorrow, 7 a.m. Hawaii time. Thank you and